Alright, so we're back here and let's keep working on this. We have a lot of work to do, so let's keep at it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to split this up in separate pieces, because if you approach 3D modeling the same way you would approach building something in real life, things are going to go a lot faster and smoother and easier for you, okay? So don't try to build something complex out of one little piece of geometry. What you want to do is split and separate things up whenever you can, if it helps. So for example, I'm going to take this polygon here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to grow selection. The shortcut is shift and the equal sign on the keyboard. So when I grow the selection, basically it selects all the polygons that are touching that polygon that I first had selected. So basically these red highlighted polygons represent right now all the polygons that make up the main body of the object that we're modeling. And the front piece is going to be completely separate the way it is in real life, because if I look at this reference image, you can see that the front panel piece, it's a separate piece that you can actually detach from the computer case. So we're going to approach it the same way in 3D as we would in the real world, which makes things a lot easier. So I'm going to take those polygons there, right click to open up the context menu, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to extract polygons. Now we have two options: we can keep or we can delete. If I hit delete, it's going to get rid of the original polygons and give me a new set of polygons. If I hit keep, I'm going to have duplicate polygons. So I'm going to have the same object twice, which is not what I want. So I'm going to hit delete. Okay, it looks like nothing happened, but if I look carefully, I'll notice that the front piece is one part and the back piece is another. And I can quickly tell because of this blue edge right here, which represents border edges in Subdivide, which basically means that it's edges that are open and not attached to anything. So I'm going to go ahead and take that piece that's back there, the main body. I'm going to hit enter on the keyboard to open up this PPG here. And I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it main body just for the moment to keep things nice and organized. You'll see later why that's so important. I'm going to take the front panel here and I'm just going to call it front panel. Just makes sense. Now I'm going to take the back part here. Since I don't need to work on the back part for the moment, we're going to focus on the front for a moment here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back part, select it, and hit H on the keyboard, H for hide. And that's going to temporarily hide it. I can hit H again to bring it back up. So here's the front piece. We can now work on this front piece without a problem. Just for the moment, I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to create a polygon back here just to cap this off, just to make this a continuous piece of geometry. And the way you do that's pretty simple. You can see I did it there pretty easy. Just hit N on the keyboard, N for new, and it'll activate the Add Polygon tool, which allows you to add a polygon. Okay. You can also access that tool by going to the Modify menu here in the main toolbar. Go into Polymesh, and you'll find here's the shortcut N. That's the Add Edit Polygon tool. And it's the same tool. Okay. Now that that's done, what I want to do is I want to block in the geometry here for the front, because if I look at my front view, you can see I have this big sort of rectangular area, and that's where you have your the disc tray up here, and you've got some other details, headphone jacks, some USB ports, things like that. So let's go ahead and create that area. To create that area, it's actually going to be pretty simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use I on the keyboard to raycast edges. I'm going to select one of these edges. Doesn't matter which one you select, just select one, and then hold down the Alt key. Use the middle mouse button and click on any edge, and you'll select the ring of edges all the way around. This is going to be very useful because what I can do now is I can simply right click, go to my context menu, and I can choose whatever modeling tools I need on those specific edges. In this case, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and subdivide edges evenly, and I'm going to look at this from a side view here, and my edges are perfectly straight, and I'm just going to go ahead and close that PPG. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of those edges there from the new edges that I created. I'm going to hold down Alt, middle mouse button, click any one of the other edges. Then I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Bevel Components. And I'm just going to bevel that one time. And you can see here in my side view, it made some straight bevels. And now we have ourselves a set of edges here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the front view here and start moving these edges. Then I'm going to use the Scale tool with COG turned on. I'm going to start scaling this out. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm setting up an area of the geometry that I can use to cut in this detail that I need. So How far should I go? Well, you might be inclined to want to take the top edge and make it line up with the top edge of the real object in the picture. Same thing with the bottom edge. But that is a little bit of a mistake. I don't like to do that, and you'll see a little bit later why I don't like to do that. For now, you just have to trust me and just go ahead and place those edges a little bit above the edges, not right on the image. Then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to look at this, and basically in between this polygon here is this edge here in the image that I need to imitate. Let's go to polygon mode. Use U on the keyboard to go to raycasting mode, which makes it a little bit easier to work. And select all these polygons in the front. Basically, if you look at my front image, should be all of these polygons right there in the front. Okay. Now, if those polygons selected, what I'm going to do is right-click, and I'm going to go to Inset Polygons. I'm going to use this PPG. It's going to help me out right now. I'm going to control the inset amount so that now the new polygons match up with the image. You can see there as I control the inset amount. In my case, 0.114 worked pretty good. You can see now I have those new polygons that kind of outline the shape right there of the image of my object. Now when I do that, it's pretty simple. All I have to do is hit Control D to extrude. The long way, of course, is to right-click, open up the context menu, and go to the Extrude Along Axis. That's going to open up a PPG. In my case, I don't want to do that. I like to just use Control and D, though there are some occasions where I will use the menu item. So how far do we push this in? The distance that we push this in will be determined by our reference images. So if I bring up my reference image here, it doesn't go in too far. So just look at the reference image and decide how far you want to push that in. Okay? I'm going to say something like what I have right now looks pretty good. In the reference image, if I bring that back out, well, it's a little bit hard to tell here, but in reality, this area here with the disk tray and the USB ports is flat. It doesn't have the curvature of the entire front panel. Right now, our panel here is not flat. It actually has the same curvature of the front panel because we extruded from it. And if I look at my side view here, you can see my polygons here have some width to them, and that tells me right there that that's a problem. So in order to fix that, there's a couple ways I can do it. I can use the scale tool, and I can activate COG, go to global mode, and I can scale this in on itself to flatten those polygons out. But that's kind of eyeballing it. That's not very precise. So what's a more precise way of doing it? There's a few ways to do it in Softimage, but let me show you a quick and easy way of doing it. And this way works pretty good. I'm going to go into point mode, hitting T on the keyboard for tag points. I'm going to select those points up there, and these points down here holding shift. So I've got those points there. So basically, if I go back to my camera view here, I can show you in wireframe view. These are the points I have selected. See that? All those interior points of that extrusion that I made. Let me go back to my right view here. Notice that I have a grid. I can snap points to a grid. If I come over here to my snap menu in the MCP, I have all these different icons here. The one with the dot means snapping to other points. That's not what I want right now, so I'll turn that off by unchecking it or unclicking it. And you notice one over here looks kind of like a tic-tac-toe symbol. That's a grid, okay? I want to make sure that one is turned on or pushed in, alright? And with that done, what I'm going to do is activate the Move tool here, the Translate tool, and I want to make sure that COG is turned off. I'm going to go to Global Mode. COG is on right now, so let me show you what happens when it's on. If I hold down the Control key, which turns on snapping, and you can also do it by clicking on this On button here, and I go ahead and I move this, you notice that it's snapping to the grid. The problem is the points are keeping their spacing. What I need to do to take that off is turn COG off. And now if I go ahead and snap, you notice that the points all snap and get aligned on that exact same position where the grid is, which makes them perfectly straight. Mathematically, they're perfectly aligned, which is exactly what I want. Now, if you took COG off and you snapped and you notice that nothing happened, it didn't snap the way that it did for me in the video, it probably means you have a certain option incorrectly set. So let's go over here to the Transform menu, left click on it to open up its menu, and down here there's an option called Collapse Points for Snapping Absolute Translation. Make sure it's checked on, and then you should have this behavior. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back, I'm going to turn snapping off, and I'll bring it back and get the same amount of depth that I had before, okay, or something similar. So something like that looks pretty good. Okay, so that part is done. And the next video, we're going to go ahead and start blocking out more of the details and getting into this in a little bit more detail. You'll see this start to come to life.